Hi, I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Sophie, and we are here to help guide you to the why behind your wellness why.
Come join us on our journey.
Hello, listeners. I'm kidding. Um, so on our podcast today, we are going to talk about transitions, some ways to deal with them, examples of them, trying to stick with it and being consistent. And just some examples of transitions can be a new job, moving like Chelsea recently, even just like a weekend getaway vacation, just getting hit with having to go back to work, having a baby. There's tons of examples.
So many examples. And I think so many people can relate to it because we all have transitions in our life. And a couple podcasts ago, we talked about the butts in life, which sounds so silly every time that comes out of my mouth. Yeah. But we talked about how there's always going to be something getting in a way of wanting to achieve our health goals or just wanting to improve our health. So all of these things are examples of that. So we decided to dive a little bit deeper into that conversation of just talking through transitions. Like Sophie said, they could be small transitions, big transitions, everything in between. We'll talk a little bit about our most recent transitions or our daily transitions that we go through and just have an open conversation about it. So, Sophie, I know you go through a transition every single day just because of your job. And I can relate a little bit to this, but I know you're even more on the move than I am. So tell everybody just a little bit about what your transitions are and some pros, some challenges, all of that good stuff.
Yes. So earlier I was just telling Chelsea, every day is basically a transition. Because not every day my schedule is different, but my week to week schedule and my day-to-day schedule is not identical by any means. I'm sure some of you can relate to that, and it can make things difficult. But again, what are you going to do about the butts in your life? And I truthfully try and schedule my week on the weekends. Like I try and pick what workouts I'm going to do what day with the time I have. What days am I going to make my smoothie on the go versus making it more casually and enjoying it at home? What days I'm going to go to the grocery store. I really try and plan that on like my Saturday and Sunday so I can prepare. But then the thing with doing that is, like the other day, my mom asked me to pick her up and I was like, I can't. That would throw off, like I just had so many things that afternoon, like it would throw off my days. Like that's like the one negative. Once I get my schedule set, I'm kind of like, I can't do anything extra. But those are just kind of some examples of how I try and deal with my crazy schedule.
Yeah. So I have actually a couple of follow-up questions just because I'm really curious. Because I think, again, a lot of people probably can relate to feeling all over the place, whether you are on the go or have a job that it's not the same role every single day. So you had mentioned like planning on the weekends, and there's no right or wrong way to plan. I always tell individuals like you have to do what works for you. But I also know a lot of people like to hear ideas and like what does work for you and what doesn't. So you had mentioned already some things like scheduling your workouts, even like when you're going to make something specific for food, when you're going to go to the grocery store. I'm just genuinely curious, like, how do you not necessarily monitor that, but I guess more of the question is like keep track of it. So are you a person who like writes it down? Is it all in your head? And again, there's no right or wrong way. I'm just curious, like what works for you?
I mostly keep it in my head, but I probably shouldn't. And if it is like a really bad week, I will put it in my calendar or I'll like write it real quickly in my notes. And something I want to add, I was talking about this with one of my trainer friends. That's what I call my work friends, my trainer friends, like a few weeks ago, is like my mom taught me this at a very young age. Every single night before I go to bed, I pick out my outfit, I pack my bag,
I love that.
I have a whole list, and I stay up late to do that. If I don't care if it hits midnight and I am like still awake, I'm like, oh no, I got to prep for tomorrow. So I can just wake up at 5 a.m., grab everything, obviously brush my teeth and stuff, guys, don't worry, and head right to work.
Hygiene first.
Yes.
So you also had mentioned too about, again, we'll call them like the butts. So you do a really good job with scheduling, but then like sometimes things happen in the week that throws that schedule off. So what do you do in those situations? Are you someone who is disciplined and you're able to like say no, or how do you handle those situations? Even if it is as simple as like picking somebody up or something like that, how for you do you handle those situations?
So I'm really good at saying no.
That's amazing.
I'm not afraid to say no. I'm really good at saying no. But another thing with that, like, I am not the type of person that if I do end up having to miss a workout, like, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm not going to cry about it. Like, I know I'm human and we're human, and I'm consistent enough where, like, if I miss a workout, it's not the end of the world. And like, I'll maybe either just plain old skip it, or I'll shift my schedule then. Like, I'll look at the rest of my week. But like, it used to affect me a lot when I was younger and just out of college and like so totally addicted to working out. But luckily over the past few years, like, I am no longer that way.
I can relate to that. I feel like you and I are very similar and also very different with some of the things that you just mentioned. So I am the same exact way. So it took me a really long time, specifically with working out, to come to terms of, if I don't hit my schedule with working out perfectly, then that's okay. And giving myself grace and just finding other ways of like being able to accomplish what I want to accomplish with working out. So I know in one of our first podcasts, I talked about one of the big reasons I work out now is I found that working out has such a huge impact on my mental health. So on a day where I might not be able to get my full workout in or make it to the gym or whatever the situation might be, is really taking a step back and asking myself, okay, within my busy day, is there something else that I can do for my mental health? And of course, I work out for so many other reasons too, but that's kind of like, I noticed that if I don't work out previously, like years ago, it wasn't that I was mad at myself for not working out. I would notice it would like make me stressed and anxious and that type of stuff. So kind of like rephrasing that. So we're very similar in that. And it takes a really long time to get to a place that you can be okay with that. So if you're out there struggling with feeling that, feeling guilty or anxious for like not following your plan. We're using the example of working out, but there's a lot of other examples. You're not alone. So many people struggle with that. And we're two examples of course, we still have our daily struggles too, but it is possible to overcome some of those challenges.
Oh yeah. Like, post-college, it took me 2 to 2.5 years to finally like not feel guilt around exercise.
Yeah.
Like, in the day that happened, I couldn't have been more excited.
Yeah, we should potentially do a podcast on that too, because that's a kind of a topic in itself. But so I said we're similar in that way, but we're also very different because I'm someone in terms of scheduling, like I am a pen and paper person. If you could see my desk right now, I have like 4 journals. Oh, you have a piece of paper too. Okay. So
I have a list.
You have a list. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm a very like check mark person. So I'm the same way. We can relate in terms of like our day schedules being very different. But I'm definitely a checklist person. I have journals. I use Evernote. I time block. So that's something in the past, I would say like 2 years I've started doing in terms of organizing like my actual day. And I do that for my business, but I also do it for my personal life too. So if I want to fit in, again, we'll use the workout example. So if I know I have a really busy day and I don't have time to actually like get in my car and drive to the gym and spend an hour at the gym, I look and see, well, like, do I even have 15 minutes to hop on the bike at home or go on a 30-minute walk or like whatever the situation might be. So yeah, so I'm like a very checklist person. And so again, there's no wrong or right way to do it, but finding what works for you in terms of like scheduling and planning and things along those lines.
So Chelsea, back to the original topic. Tell us how you dealt with your moving transition.
Yeah. So we just talked about the small transitions in terms of like day-to-day life things, but yeah, bigger transitions. They're tough. I will be 100% honest about that. I'm not going to try to like sugarcoat this or be like, oh my gosh, life was so great over the time of us moving. It was really, really challenging, and we are still not fully settled. So we moved in January. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Way before that.
It's January right now. We moved in September of 2021, and we had planned for a really long time. So I even remember like Sophie, you and I had talked about it probably almost like even a year prior to that. We had started the conversation of potentially wanting to move. With life transitions in general, I think sometimes that's why so many people struggle with them, is because it's not just that set time. Like we moved in September, but there was like so much leading up to that move. And then also still so much happening. Like even when we hopped on the call today, I warned Sophie that we have construction workers coming to our house for like the 5th day in the row. So if my doorbell rings in the background, it is what it is. But yeah, so it's like, it's not just that one transition. It's like, there's a lot of before and after. So even the example of, I know I have a lot of friends and family and clients going through becoming a first time parent. And so of course that's like an even bigger transition because your life is fully changing for the long run. But it's like, it's not just like when someone becomes pregnant, it's like, it's not just the challenge of pregnancy for 9 months. There's potentially a lot of challenges and transitions leading up to that pregnancy. And then, of course, like becoming a parent afterwards. And so transitions can be, longer. But using my specific example of moving, so some things, even though, like I said, I'm not going to try to like sugarcoat it or make it seem like it was all, roses and butterflies. There are some things that I have found that really helped, and some things that have continued to help me just be able to still like work on my wellness and keep my head in line moving forward. So a couple of things that have helped me. Number one, we already talked about planning ahead. So planning ahead for my everyday life, but also kind of taking a step back and planning ahead for the bigger picture. So something that really helps me is remembering that it's just a transition. It's just a phase of life, and knowing that it is temporary. So again, like I said, even that transition, even if it is like a lifelong transition or something that's going to impact for years, it's knowing that the challenge that you're having right now with that transition is potentially just a phase of life. So even though I know my life is going to be changed forever from a move, I'm not having the challenges on an everyday basis of, that type of thing. So, like I said, looking at the bigger picture and knowing that it is just temporary, but also a big thing, again, specifically with moving. But again, I think anyone can relate to a new job, coming back from vacation, coming back from maternity leave, whatever the situation might be, is taking it back to how is it impacting your day-to-day life, and in specific to the wellness topic, because again, we could go off on a lot of different roads with this. So we're going to just try to keep it in the lane with wellness, is specifically for me talking about how can I get back into my routine with being in the kitchen, with getting back into my workout. So of course, as anyone can relate with a move, you lose your kitchen space for a set amount of time. So for us, we had to put our stuff in storage. We had to stay with family and friends for a while before our house was done and we could close on it. Once we got moved in, we didn't have a lot of our appliances. The list goes on and on and on. I'm not going to sit here and talk all about that. But like we talked about in the beginning, something for me that really helped was creating a schedule. So looking at the big picture and trying to ask myself, what could I realistically do at this time? So for me, I didn't have all the appliances in the world. So I wasn't going to be trying to cook things that I didn't even have access to. We didn't have a refrigerator in the stars. So like trying to set realistic goals of like what can I do right now? So things that I was able to do. I joined a gym pretty early on. Was I eating perfectly? Absolutely not. Were we eating out? Were we, you know, not going to the store often? All of that type of stuff, but I still picked one goal from a wellness standpoint. And I knew that I could, even if I wasn't eating the way I wanted to be eating, I could still be moving my body the way I wanted to be moving my body. So really trying to do that. And then as things did get a little bit more stable, just trying to add in like one thing at a time. So even with working out, because of the move and transition, I really, and COVID and the pandemic, just like everyone else, I really got out of my workout routine. So again, as we talked about with the goal setting, it wasn't, okay, now I joined a gym, I'm going to go 7 days a week or even 5 days a week. It was, okay, I'm going to go 2 days a week and then I will do walk in between that or whatever the examples might be, but I try to add in one thing at a time. And then same thing with getting back in the kitchen. So once we did have all of our appliances, things were a little bit more organized. I didn't go back to fully meal prepping, fully planning the week. And I'm still not back there yet. So I know on Instagram, even the other day, I was sharing something about how previously, like when I lived in Chicago, because of how my lifestyle was and because of my work schedule, I was someone who I meal prepped the entire week. I cooked, I went to the grocery store on Sundays. I cooked all of my meals for the week through at least Thursday or Friday, and I had everything ready to go in the kitchen. For where I am right now, because of my big life transition, that is not realistic and that is okay. So taking a step back and really figuring out what can you do and what works for your lifestyle with the transition you're going through. So what works for us is I still go to the store on the weekends. I still buy all of our ingredients for the week. But instead of meal prepping everything, just because of the time I have, is I pick like 1 to 2 things to have on hand. And I just really try to focus on organization now. So instead of having everything prepped and ready to go, it's just really having everything organized. So having like clear containers in my fridge that I can see everything that's in my fridge, having my pantry set up in a way that like I know what's in my pantry and I know what items I have on. So those are just some examples of taking, little things and being able to add in, but it's still a work in progress and that's okay.
No, it sounds good. And I like how you rolled with the punches and changed how you prepped and everything because you picked what was realistic. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I know we talked about like your day-to-day transition, but are there any big ones that you recently went through or anything coming up? So even like a trip or I know hopefully you're not planning on moving or a job change or anything, but like any other transitions for you that you had or anticipate having coming up?
So this is my last day as a personal trainer. I am becoming a professional knitter and I am moving to Colorado.
LO.
Joke. I'm never moving and I will always be a trainer. And I'm kidding. I am going on a trip, a little ski trip in a few weeks. And I'm sure people are similar, maybe not. I try and be really good when a trip is coming up. I try and get ahead of my work schedule as best I can. So when I'm on the trip, I don't let myself bring my laptop, as difficult as that used to be. It's not anymore. I love not bringing my laptop. I try not to think about work. I mean, my clients know I'm out of town. I try and set the boundary of not texting my clients, at least not about like work related things. If we text about something else, have I broken that boundary in the past? Yes, but new year, new me. Am I right? So we're getting recentered, getting back to some of those boundaries. Not all of them. Some of them have been broken forever now, but and then I mean, it's pretty tough. I try and again schedule ahead and think of when I can go to the grocery store when I get back. Like, what time does my flight land? Can I go to the grocery store that day, at least for a few things? Can I go the next day? I kind of, I don't know if that's crazy to think about, but I think about that.
I don't think it is. I'm just gonna hop in. Sorry to interrupt, but
Oh, no,
this is
no.
something that my clients struggle with a lot. And it's a conversation we have. And again, we haven't had it as much over the past few years because a lot of people aren't traveling as much as they used to, but it's starting again and people thankfully are able to travel again. And so the conversation is starting. So I think this is a good, just like real quick hopping in here of mentioning that if you do have a trip coming up and you are traveling, I highly encourage what Sophie just mentioned. So again, we don't want you like overthinking it or having like those thoughts of food or shopping, like over consuming your thoughts. But I think there's a difference between things like over consuming your thoughts and feeling prepared. So then you like feel confident going into your week. So, especially a trip where you're traveling or a road trip that you're not driving is when you're in the air on the airplane or in the airport or sitting in the passenger seat, like scroll through Pinterest, get your recipes, make your plan, make your grocery list. And if you're someone, because I've experienced this too, is if you're someone who just like knows you're not going to have time to go to the store when you get back, there is meal delivery all across the nation. And not only meal delivery, but also grocery delivery too. And it's okay to take advantage of that. Like, I know for me, like, I like to go to the store. So it's not something I want to do every single week. But there is a time and a place where, like, again, going back to what's realistic with your life is if you're going to get back from a trip on a late Sunday night and you have like back to back meetings Monday through Friday, and it's just not realistic to go to the store, I would much rather you take advantage of still using those other services. So, grocery delivery, meal delivery, something like that, and still feel confident going into your week versus going into your week already having a stressful week with work and then feeling even more stressed because like you don't know what to eat throughout the week.
Something I also like to do is making sure I have some things if I don't have time to go to the grocery store right when I get back, like oats or eggs. Like if I get yogurt right before I leave, like obviously if it's a shorter trip, like that will still be good when I get home. It's
Yeah.
something I also try and do.
Having like staples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good time. So, like, those are really good examples. I always say, like, become friends with your freezer for trips. So, having things like in your freezer, whether they're meals that you prepped and you froze yourself or just the basics. So, frozen meatballs, rice, like you can buy like a bag of frozen brown rice, frozen proteins, frozen veggies. The list goes on and on and on. I always keep a box of pasta, a jar of spaghetti sauce, a bag of frozen veggies, and a bag of frozen turkey meatballs in my freezer. And if I'm in a pinch, then I know that I at least have something that I can create a well balanced meal. You have your whole grain pasta, pair it with a marinara sauce, top it with turkey meatballs for my protein, and add in lots of fiber through my frozen veggies. And it's something that is satisfying and keeps me full. So that's something that you can keep in your fridge, freezer, pantry. And it's a simple meal that, number one, doesn't take a lot of time. And number two, if you are on a trip, you don't have to worry about it going bad when you get back.
I love that. Great tips.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, I just want to add, like we've mentioned, give yourself grace. Like we are human, but with that, we can't let butts take over our lives all the time, and like try your best to be consistent. Even like Chelsea and I have mentioned, like try and be consistent with at least like one thing, like pick that one thing, stick to it. I know it can get tough and you can get discouraged, but really try and think big picture. We live in such a I want it and I want it now society, and we just have to try and take ourselves away from that sometimes.
Yeah, I love that. I would also add in like not only wanting it and wanting it now, but I think wanting it all.
Yes.
We had talked about this previously too, but it's like really, really trying to step back from that all or nothing mindset. I promise you, you will be so much happier in life. You will feel so much more consistent. You will be so much more, you'll have just like a more positive outlook on life if you don't think of everything together. And again, I'm talking specifically with wellness, but if you don't always combine nutrition and exercise and sleep and stress and drinking water, like, yes, those are all great pieces. And in a perfect world, we'd all be doing all of them at the same time, but you have to work with what is realistic with where you are in life.
Totally. So our food for thought for today, I want you to compare. So what was a recent transition you went through and how did you deal with it then? And maybe try and think of a transition, whether it be big or small, in the near future, and how you would like to handle that. Would you handle it same, different? Just take a little moment to journal on that.
Yes, I love that. Well, there's a lot with this topic that we could have talked about, and we just wanted to do like an open forum, just talking about what our challenges were, our transitions were, and if you're going through a current transition, like Sophie said, journal on it, come to us, talk about it. And we are looking forward to following up on some of this in future podcasts.
Love it.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.
See you later.